Okay, so hello everyone. In this video, I wanted to explain how you can simulate the extension and retraction of a double-acting cylinder using FluidSim. So to do that, you can go here to Pneumatic and you select in the option of actuators. And the second option is the double-acting cylinder. So you can select this element and drag the element in the workspace. Okay, now, the first way in which we will be controlling the extension or retraction of the double acting cylinder is by using two distribution valves. Okay, so you click here in distribution valves and then go to configurable. And in configurable, you select the three ports valve. So you select this three port valve and we'll configure the switching mechanisms between its position. So you double click on this element and then you go to valve configuration and you select here. In this case, I will be selecting the interlocking button. That is the second option. So you select an interlocking button and also I want to, for switching for the second position, for the left actuation mechanism, I will select a spring reposition mechanism. Okay, so you need to click on this box and then you click on accept. Okay, and for this purpose, in order to, one of the valves will be controlling the extension of the cylinder and another valve will be used to control the retraction of the cylinder. So for this purpose, I will copy this element. Okay, you can do that by pressing Ctrl C and then Ctrl V. And you will place the element in this region. Okay. And now you can connect port number 2 of this directional control valve to the other port of the double acting cylinder. And this port in particular will allow us to control the retraction of the cylinder. Also, you can double click on port number 3 in order to denote that this is the air exit of the directional control valve. And we do the same for the other directional control valve, okay? Remember that always port number 3 is the air exit of these directional control valves. And also, we need to supply to these two elements the compressed air. So in order to do that, we will go here to source elements and you will select the first element that is the compressed air source. So you click on this element and then you connect this element to port number 1 of each of the directional control valves. So you click here in this section and then you go to this section. And I think that's it. Now we can start the simulation. So you click here on start and you can notice that in this case, there is an airflow between the air source and this air goes from, or this airflow goes to port number 1 of each of the directional control valves. Now, if I want to extend this cylinder, I can press this button, okay? And you can notice that we switch to the left position of this valve and the air is flowing from port number 1 to port number 2. And this air is introduced in the left chamber of the cylinder and you can see that the air pressure is extending the piston, okay? But when I stop pressing this button and now I decided to push the other button of the other directional control valve, you will notice that now the piston is retracted because I am allowing the airflow to move from port number 1 to port number 2 for this directional control valve, and the air pressure is pushing the piston to its retracted position. Okay, so this is the way in which you can control the extension or retraction of a double acting cylinder. Okay. So this is one way in which you can perform this type of simulation, but also we can use another mechanism in order to control the extension and retraction of the cylinder. So for this purpose, I will move all of these elements to this region. And now I want to place a valve between the connection of these two valves with the input ports or an output ports of the double acting cylinder. So to do that, you can erase these connections by uh, make a right click in your computers and then you select the erase option. Okay. Oh, now we need to go here to distribution valves and you select configurable. But for this purpose now, I will be using a 5-port or 5-ways directional control valve. So we select this element, the 5-ways directional control valve, and I will place the element in this position. And I will configure the switching mechanisms of this valve. So you need to double click on this element and you go to valve configuration and then you need to select, in this case, I want to switch the positions of this directional control valve via pneumatic mechanism. So in order to do that, you need to click here in pneumatic and you will select the pneumatic option, okay? And this will allow us to switch between the two positions of the valve by using this pneumatic mechanism or this switching mechanism or actuation mechanism for this directional control valve. And I will do the same for the right actuation. And you need to click here in pneumatic. And you can see in this symbol that we are placing a pneumatic actuation for the left and right side of this directional control valve. And now you need to click on OK. Now, for a 5-port directional control valve, we need to define two air exits. So we have an air exit in port number 3, similar to the previous cases. So you select in this option in order to denote the air exit of this valve. And also port number 5, it can be, well, it's another air exit. So you double click in port number 5, and then you select the symbol for the air exit and you click on accept and that's all. Okay. Similarly to the other directional control valves, always port number 1 is the input of the air source. Okay, so you click on this port number 1 and then you make the connection with the air source of our pneumatic circuit. Okay. And now, since this directional control valve is actuated or switched between its two positions by using a pneumatic activation, we can connect the pneumatic activation to the output ports of these two directional control valves. So you can click on these elements and then you drag the element into port number 2. And also the other actuation mechanism can be connected to the output port or port number 2 of the other directional control valve. Okay. And also we can connect the output port number 4 of this directional control valve to the other port of the single acting cylinder. Okay. And um, and I think that's all that you need. So now we can start the simulation. Okay. So you can notice that in the first step of the simulation, the air source is flowing from port number 1 to port number 2. And we are filling, in this case, the right chamber of this double acting cylinder. But when I press this button at the left side, you will notice that I am allowing the airflow from through this directional control valve, and then this directional control valve is controlling the left actuation mechanism of this directional control valve. And so the air is flowing from port number 1 to port number 4, okay? And now we are placing air in the left chamber of the double acting cylinder, and the pressure of the air in this region is allowing us to extend the cylinder, okay? So I can stop feeding air to the left actuation mechanism of this directional control valve by pressing this button. And now I want to retract the piston. So to do that, I can press this button And now the air is moving from port number 1 to port number 2. And the right side of the 5-port directional control valve is actuated by the air source in the right side. And okay, and now we are allowing the air from moving from port number 1 to port number 2, and the air pressure that is fed to the right side of this double acting cylinder is allowing us to retract the piston to the left side. Okay, so this is another way in which you can simulate the behavior of a double acting cylinder. You can use uh, only two directional control valves with 3 ports, or you can control the extension or retraction mechanism by placing in the middle a 5-port 2-position valve that is actuated pneumatically by using the outputs of the two directional control valves of 3 ports, as in the example that I developed in this video. So in other videos, I will try to explain also how you can perform logical operations using pneumatic circuits. In particular, I will tell you what are the valve types that you can use in order to simulate the behavior of an OR logic function or an AND logic function. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope you like it, and see you later.